According to Mythos, 100% of you are subscribed. Good job.
Hello, how's it going? I have decided to go back into the Hoyo kitchen to try to cook up a new team just for the sake of trying to break the game once again. And I think I have stumbled into something quite funny, yet broken, even though it looks incredibly scuffed. See for yourself.
Someone cooked here.
So, if you're anything like me, you might have been wondering what in the hell just happened. And throughout this video, I want to go over the math as to why I believe that this team comp can potentially work, as well as give a couple disclaimers here and there to just as a warning before you actually try to make this team comp. But I do have to admit, this has been one of the ones that I have had a lot of fun with. Starting things off, as the video title suggests, the reason why I created this team comp is because I have Fugue's Eidolon 2, and that is like the main core thing that I want to highlight throughout this video. For those that might not be aware about what Fugue's Eidolons 1 and 2 do, Eidolon 1 makes it so that whoever gets targeted by Fugue's skill now has a 50% weakness break efficiency increase, which honestly is amazing. However, the real magic lies in Fugue's Eidolon 2, which makes it so that anytime an enemy is weakness broken, Fugue regenerates 3 energy, and additionally, anytime that Fugue casts her ultimate, your whole party gets advanced by 24%, meaning that you get a free dance light cone effect at super imposition 5 for Fugue's kit. I have honestly been obsessed with this Eidolon, mainly because of the fact that I believe that this breaks the game fundamentally. One of the main gimmicks for Star Rail has always been the toughness bars, and this is essentially a core mechanic that the game, I feel like, must have always in order to function as the Star Rail that we all know and love. It's their unique selling point. So they can't really get rid of it. They can get new ways to break it, but they can't get rid of the toughness bar, in my opinion. The second disclaimer is that this was done exclusively on Pure Fiction, and I don't believe that this team comp would ever work outside of it, because this is meant to be fully optimized for when there are 5 enemies on field that you're able to shred through. And that does lead to a few problems, because Pure Fiction also now grants you buffs because of the True Grit mechanic. So I still need to see better how that works. I'll hopefully try that out when the next Pure Fiction rotation happens on Monday. I'll keep you guys updated on YouTube, Twitter, and all the socials. But from what I have been able to gather, you at least need the Fire or Quantum Weakness for this to work. With all that out of the way, let us begin. The way that this video is going to be formatted is that I'm going to be dividing it into chapters for every single character and explain the math behind them and why I have added them into the team, and how all of them synergize really well with one another. Starting things off, naturally, we have Fugue. For this particular setup, we're running Fugue at Eidolon 2 with the Solitary Healing Light Cone and the Thief of Shooting Meteor set. As we established before, Fugue's Eidolon 2 makes it so that whenever an enemy gets weakness broken, Fugue regenerates 3 energy. This means that for 5 enemies, you get 15 energy. However, because of the way that Fugue's own passive works, enemies can be weakness broken twice, meaning that you essentially are getting 30 energy instead. We are also choosing to run the Thief of Shooting Meteor set. This is because of the 4-piece bonus effect that the set provides, that says, after the wearer inflicts weakness break on an enemy, the character regenerates 3 energy. Mind you, it is important to note that this will only work if, and only if, Fugue is the one to break the enemy. Usually when I cast it, this tends to give me between 12 to 15 energy. However, again, because of the way that Fugue's passive works, you can proc the weakness breaks twice, meaning that you can get up to 30 energy if you plan it correctly. Before I forget, it is also important to note that whenever you defeat an enemy in Pure Fiction, that specific character that defeated an enemy will get 5 energy, meaning that we can actually add another 25 energy if Fugue is able to slay the opponent with that break. The last piece of this puzzle comes in solitary healing, in particular because of the way that the secondary passive it provides functions. It reads, when a target suffering from DOT imposed by the wearer is defeated, regenerate 6 energy for the wearer. Whenever you break with Fugue, you're able to apply a burn because of the way that the break mechanic works. Because of this, it is vital that you try to break enemies with Fugue's ult, because this means that she will be able to apply a burn to be able to get the passive of solitary healing, but also Fugue is not able to apply any debuffs on her own actions. So if you miss this window of opportunity, not only are you missing out on energy that you could be regenerating, but you're also missing out on 1 Acheron stack that you could be accelerating. With all of this though, we are achieving a total of 100 energy out of the 130 energy that Fugue requires in order to be able to recast her ultimate again. Oh, technically 105, because when you cast your ultimate you get 5 energy actually. And all of this is done before you actually even take into account energy recharge calculations. I may or may not be off on my math a little bit here and there, but I do know for a fact that with this specific setup, I have been able to get my Fugue ultimate back immediately after having cast it. And that in particular, I find hilarious. The second character that we're going to be talking about in this video for this team comp is Tribbie, as she is the second core part for all of this comp to work. In particular, she is the one that enables Acheron to go as fast as possible. For Tribbie, we're going to be focusing on her passive talent, as well as her Ascension 6 trace, which should enable us to use her ultimate as much as possible and therefore proc the Dance 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 light cone a lot of times. Starting things off, we're going to be looking at Tribbie's Ascension 6 passive trace. In particular, the part that we want to highlight is the fact that Tribbie regenerates 1.5 energy for every target that an ally hits. With this knowledge, we know now that every single time Fugue, Himeko, or Acheron uses their ultimate, Tribbie will regenerate 7.5 energy. Additionally, whenever Himeko uses a follow-up attack, this means she will roughly also be gaining 4.5 to 7.5 energy, depending on how many enemies exist, because enemies do not refresh first before Himeko unleashes the follow-up attack, which is something that you need to be careful of. For this particular reason, we're going to be focusing a lot on breaking enemies so that Himeko can unleash her follow-up attack as much as possible. This is where Fugue's passive talent also comes into play, because in particular, as we established before, Fugue is able to provide us with exo toughness, meaning that we get to break the enemy twice. This means that with all these ultimates, we can probably get 2 to even 3 follow-up attacks, but thanks to Fugue, we can now potentially get 5, 6, 7 follow-up attacks for absolutely no reason, meaning that we get to turbo recharge Tribbie. We can further boost this with the usage of Tribbie's talent, which in a very simplified way makes it so that whenever an ally uses their ultimate, she will also use a follow-up attack to accompany them. Now, every single follow-up attack will recharge you 5 energy for Tribbie. With all of this, we will be able to generate a lot of energy for Fugue and Tribbie, and with the amount of times that Himeko is going to be unleashing her follow-up attack, she too will be getting a lot of energy. Now you might be wondering, how do we boost Acheron? Well, we give Tribbie the Fugue skill. With this in mind, Tribbie is now able to apply debuffs on her follow-up attacks, her ultimates, and her basic attacks, essentially meaning that you get to turbo recharge Acheron. Additionally, you can still apply a debuff with Tribbie without having the need to use Fugue's skill on Tribbie if you're able to break an enemy. So if there are quantum weak enemies, you can get away with not giving it to Tribbie. Though I would not fully recommend that sometimes. The next character that we're gonna be talking about is honestly Acheron, and we don't really have anything else to talk about her. Like, all the main key points have already been covered in either Fugue or Tribbie. So yeah, I mean, you just exist. Like, if I had to say something, I guess it would be that you give Tribbie 4.5 energy whenever you use her skill. But that's really just about it. I just, like, there's nothing else. I mean, there's the fact that she ignores all weakness types, so you're able to break enemies really easily for Himeko to go brr, but like, again, this has already been covered. If anything, what I will do with this time that is meant to be for Acheron is to remind you real quick to hit that subscribe button if you like this sort of content where I overanalyze the math of this game. I really do want to try to find a way to break this game as much as possible, and your support really means a lot to me, and I adore, like, the conversations I've had with you guys in the comments have always been great, both about lore and about gameplay. And I still remember when I first released the first Fugue's Eidolon 2 is fundamentally broken, y'all had some amazing comments, and I would love to see more of them, especially because I learned about using solitary healing from one of the commenters. The reason we turbo broke this even more is because somebody mentioned that Lycone being busted for the strategy, and that is how we have it. Finally, the last character for this team comp is Himeko, who I am actually surprised I am about to yap a lot about her. Now, realistically speaking, there are only two things that I'm gonna be able to talk about in this video for Himeko, which are her own passive talent, naturally, and her Ascension 2 trace, which I'm pretty sure none of you guys know because I honestly forgot about it until I made this video. Starting things off with Himeko's talent, we all know that if we break enemies enough times, Himeko will unleash a follow-up attack. Every single time that we proc this follow-up attack, Himeko will gain 10 energy. Now, taking into consideration that Himeko's ultimate costs 120 energy, this means that we would need roughly 12 follow-up attacks in order to get to the desired amount to be able to recast the ultimate again. However, we can actually shorten this by a reasonable amount. Take into consideration that anytime you use Himeko's ultimate, you get 5 energy back. Then we're going to add on to this the fact that if we are able to slay an enemy, Himeko will be gaining another extra 5 energy for every enemy slain. And lastly, the one extra thing that it is only theoretical because I haven't actually tried it yet. I would still need to farm a bit more relic sets in order to fully confirm or deny this as a possibility. Running Himeko on the Thief of Shooting Meteor set like we're running Fugue, because potentially this will give her even more energy. And again, anytime you break toughness or exo toughness, she will be getting energy, meaning that we will be able to pop off anytime we use her ult or even her follow-up attacks for this matter. And in all honesty, all of this sounds amazing, but we are not done yet because there is a reason why I'm using Himeko in this Acheron team. And that is the Ascension 2 passive that Himeko gets. This passive is the reason why we run her with Acheron, because it says after using an attack, there's a 50% chance to inflict burn on enemies for 2 turns. This, in turn, means that every follow-up attack that Himeko does now has a chance to provide Acheron with 1 stack if she's able to apply the debuff onto an enemy. The whole math of percentages probability that like you are able to achieve is a little bit funky, and I'm not gonna bore you with like the super detail of everything. All you need to know is the following. Using my Himeko as an example, who has 19.2 effect hit rate, with the calculations of each enemy, 0.2 being the effect resistance of a normal enemy, 0.3 being of an elite, and 0.4 of a boss enemy, at every single wave in the pure fiction stage, you will find the following probabilities of missing. And I want to emphasize, this is the percentage chances of you missing applying a debuff. Based on my math, the percentage chance of you missing the application of a debuff in the first wave when there are 3 enemies is of 14.13%. If there are 5 enemies, it will be 3.83% chance of missing. This is mainly because of the whole concept of like you flipping a coin 5 times, it's gonna be unlikely that you get 5 of them in a row being the same. But yeah, essentially in wave 2, because now we have an elite that uses a different number, the percentage chances change to 15.75 and 4.27% to miss when there are 3 or 5 enemies respectively. And as for wave 3, these numbers change to 17.38% or 4.71% chance to miss. A lot of the times you're going to get it, and if not, I would really suggest increasing the effect hit rate because what I have currently is very minimal, but I can probably tweak it to have better results in the future. But yeah, essentially that has been all the math that I wanted to do regarding for this team comp that I thought was very funny to be able to not necessarily break the game, but get as close to it as I potentially could. I do have to say, honorable mention, as you might be able to see in the back, I did try to pull this off with the Herta. Problems I was facing though, one, the Herta was not properly built, which does lead to a few issues here and there, naturally. And the second one is that I couldn't really find a good environment to test her. Like, the main issue is that in stage 3, enemies appear to be a bit too frail, so I can't really get the amount of breaks that I would want to get like I do in stage 4. But essentially, the Herta also has a passive similar to that of Tribbie's, where depending on the amount of times your other allies hit enemies, she will get 3 energy for every enemy hit. However, this is a fixed amount, so you cannot improve it with energy recharge rate. She is really efficient though, in the sense that you're going to be able to recharge her incredibly quickly. As we saw, if we're able to just do that with Himeko, just getting so many energy stacks for the Herta doesn't seem that unreasonable. And also, there's the fact that the Herta will be able to just get, whatchamacallit, like, she gets advanced forward after using her ultimate, which if you plan it accordingly properly, will be giving Tribbie a lot of energy back. So that's also like a huge plus. Again, I haven't had a proper environment to test out the Herta team, but if I ever find a stage 4 that is like Quantum and Ice, I think I would be very hyped to try it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching all the way up to this point of the video. I know this was a lot of yapping, a lot of math, and a lot of rambling shenanigans that I probably look incredibly psychotic. That being said, I really appreciate each and every single one of y'all. Y'all make me so freaking happy to make these videos, and it's honestly a delight. So, until next time, I'll see you all in the next video, which will be a continuation, finally wrapping up the equation series. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time zone you're currently watching this video at. Bye-bye.